The silk of my wedding dress whispered against my skin as I twirled before the mirror, drinking in every detail of what should have been the happiest moment of my life. The boutique's soft lighting caught the delicate beading, creating a constellation of sparkles that matched the joy bubbling in my chest. "You look absolutely perfect, Rachel," Kara said, her voice carrying an odd note that I couldn't quite place. Our eyes met in the mirror, and something in her smile made my stomach twist. I'm Rachel, and this was supposed to be my fairy tale ending. Instead, it became the beginning of my nightmare. "The dress is gorgeous," Rebecca, my wedding planner, gushed. "Jake won't be able to take his eyes off you." Kara's phone buzzed on the cushioned bench beside her. When she reached for it, her hand trembled slightly. I watched her face carefully in the mirror as she read the message, catching the slight flush in her cheeks, the way her lips parted just so. "Everything okay?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "Oh, just work stuff," she replied too quickly, tucking the phone away, but not before I glimpsed Jake's name on the screen. "I need some water," I announced, stepping down from the platform. As I passed by Kara's bench, her phone buzzed again. She had left it face up, probably thinking I was too caught up in my bridal moment to notice. The message preview made my world stop spinning. "Last night was amazing, Kay. Can't wait to see you again." My fingers went numb. The room suddenly felt too bright, too warm, too everything. I picked up the phone, my hands moving of their own accord. "Rachel, wait." Kara lunged forward, but it was too late. I scrolled through their messages, each one a dagger to my heart. Pictures, plans, promises, 6 months of betrayal, right under my nose. "How could you?" My voice came out as a whisper, but it cut through the boutique like a scream. "It just happened," Kara said, tears welling in her eyes. "We never meant—" "Never meant what? To hurt me? To destroy everything?" I hurled her phone across the room. It cracked against the wall, the sound satisfying in a way I couldn't describe. Rebecca stood frozen, her clipboard clutched to her chest. "Should I give you two a moment?" "No need," I said, my voice steady despite the hurricane raging inside me. "The fitting's over, the wedding's over, everything's over." I walked out of the boutique, still wearing the dress, ignoring their calls behind me. The afternoon sun hit my face, and I realized I was smiling. Not because I was happy, but because I knew exactly what I had to do next. 3 hours and 2 bottles of wine later, I sat cross-legged on my bedroom floor, surrounded by photos of Jake, Kara, and me. Happy memories turned poison. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing with their messages, their excuses, their pleas. A knock at my door made me jump. "Rachel, you in there?" It was Carter, my brother. I quickly wiped my eyes. "Come in." He took one look at the mess, the scattered photos, the empty bottles, the wedding magazines torn to shreds, and his face darkened. "I'm going to kill him." "Don't," I said, pulling him down to sit beside me. "I have something better in mind." "What do you mean?" I picked up my phone and showed him the latest text from Jake. "Please let me explain. We can fix this." "I'm not canceling the wedding," I said, my voice stronger than I expected. Carter's eyes widened. "Are you insane? After what they did?" "Think about it," I interrupted, standing up to pace the room. "Jake's family has already paid for half the venue. Non-refundable. Kara's helped plan every detail. They both think they've destroyed me, that I'm falling apart. Aren't you?" "No." I stopped pacing and faced my brother. "I'm getting stronger, and I'm going to make them pay, not by walking away, but by giving them exactly what they deserve." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Josephine, my college friend. "Just heard what happened. Need backup." A real smile crossed my face, for the first time since the boutique. "Actually," I texted back, "I could use your help with something." "Rachel," Carter said, his voice worried, "revenge isn't the answer. Neither is letting them get away with it." I showed him another text from Kara. "We never meant for this to happen. Please don't tell anyone. They're worried about their reputations," I continued, "about what people will think. So let's give them the wedding they've been dreaming of, and then some." Carter stood up, running a hand through his hair. This isn't you. You don't do things like this. The old Rachel died in that boutique today. I picked up a photo of Kara and me from high school, our arms around each other, grinning like we had our whole lives ahead of us. I ripped it in half, but don't worry. The new Rachel is going to put on quite a show. My phone lit up with Josephine's reply. Count me in. What's the plan? I looked at my reflection in the window, at the steel in my eyes that hadn't been there this morning. The plan, I said, is to give them a wedding they'll never forget. I can't believe you're going through with this, Josephine whispered, as we sat in the back of the church during the wedding rehearsal. You're either brilliant or crazy. I watched Kara fumble with her bridesmaid's bouquet for the third time, her hands shaking. Jake stood at the altar, tugging at his collar, shooting nervous glances my way. Maybe both, I replied, scribbling notes in my planner. Did you get what I asked for? Josephine pulled out her phone, showing me a series of screenshots. Everything from the last 6 months, their coffee dates, hotel meetups, even the weekend they claimed they were both visiting family. My first attempt at revenge had backfired spectacularly. I'd tried to expose Kara's affair to her workplace, anonymously sending evidence to her boss. Instead, she'd gotten a promotion. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Rachel, Rebecca the wedding planner, approached, clipboard in hand. We need you up front for the processional practice. I stood, smoothing my dress. Coming. As I walked down the aisle, Jake's face transformed into that perfect, loving expression I used to believe was real. Kara stood beside him, her smile brittle. Looking beautiful as always, Jake said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I reached the altar and turned to face him. Thank you, honey. I want everything to be perfect for our special day. Kara dropped her bouquet. The rehearsal continued, a choreographed dance of lies, until Rebecca announced, now for the vow practice. Actually, I said, Jake and I have decided to write our own vows. We want to keep them a surprise for the ceremony. Jake's face paled. We did? Don't you remember, sweetie? We discussed it last week, right after your business dinner. The same dinner he'd spent in Kara's apartment, according to Josephine's evidence. Right, he stammered. Of course. After the rehearsal, Curtis, my ex-boyfriend turned lawyer, pulled me aside. Rachel, what are you doing? This isn't like you. People change, I said, watching Kara practically run from the church. Sometimes they're not who you thought they were at all. If you need to talk, I need to finish what I started. I checked my phone. A message from Josephine. Package delivered. I smiled, imagining Kara finding the envelope I'd had Josephine slip into her purse. Inside was a single photo of her and Jake, taken just last week, with a note, "The truth always comes out, tick-tock." The rehearsal dinner's tomorrow, I told Curtis. You should come. It's going to be quite memorable. He shook his head. I hope you know what you're doing. I did. For the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I was doing. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with nervous energy. I sat at the head table, watching Jake fidget with his wine glass, while Kara kept checking her phone, jumping every time someone walked past. Toast time, Rebecca announced, tapping her glass. Carter stood first, his expression tight. He knew the plan, but hated every minute of it. To my sister Rachel, who deserves nothing but happiness. A loud crash interrupted him. Josephine had accidentally bumped into a waiter, sending glasses shattering across the floor. In the chaos, I slipped away to the bathroom, where I'd overheard Kara telling someone to meet her. Can't keep doing this. Kara's voice drifted from around the corner. She knows something. Calm down, Jake replied. Rachel's clueless. She's still going through with the wedding, isn't she? But what about the money? If she finds out about the company shares? I stepped forward, heels clicking on the tile. They jumped apart like guilty teenagers. What company shares? I asked sweetly. Jake recovered first. Baby, we were just discussing your plan to transfer your startup shares to Kara before the wedding. I pulled out my phone, showing them Curtis's legal document. The ones that would have been half mine after we married? Kara's face crumpled. Rachel, please. Please what? Keep quiet. Pretend I don't know my fiancé was planning to cheat me financially too? Jake grabbed my arm. Lower your voice. I yanked away from him. Or what? Worried the guests might hear? Worried your investors might find out? You don't understand, he hissed. The merger next month. The one that would triple the share value? I smiled. Curtis explained everything. He's very thorough when he's investigating fraud. Their faces went white. Rachel, Josephine's voice carried down the hallway. Everyone's looking for you. Coming, I called back, then turned to Jake and Kara. Better fix your faces. We wouldn't want anyone to suspect something's wrong. Back at the table, Carter finished his toast. I raised my glass, locking eyes with Jake. To truth, I said. May it always come to light. Later that night, Josephine helped me into my car. Curtis called. He's filed the preliminary paperwork. Good. I checked my makeup in the rearview mirror. How long until Jake figures out I've frozen the share transfer? Probably not until after the ceremony. She squeezed my hand. Are you sure about tomorrow? I thought about the USB drive in my purse, filled with evidence of their betrayal, about the slideshow they didn't know I'd modified, about the vows I'd stayed up all night perfecting. Never been more sure of anything in my life. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear. I sat in the bridal suite, watching Rebecca fuss with my veil, while Kara hovered nearby, looking like she might throw up. You're something borrowed, Josephine said, handing me a delicate silver bracelet. Inside the clasp, she'd hidden a tiny USB drive containing the modified slideshow. Everything's ready, she whispered. The tech guy's been paid extra to play our version. A knock at the door made everyone jump. Rachel, it was Curtis. Can we talk? Alone? The others filed out, Kara lingering until I fixed her with a cold stare. I found something else, Curtis said, once we were alone. About Jake's company. The merger isn't what you think. What do you mean? It's a hostile takeover. Jake's been selling secrets to the competition. That's why he needed to transfer those shares before they could be traced. My hands started shaking. And Kara? She's been helping him. Her promotion. It was arranged by the competing firm. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd imagined. Not just an affair, but a calculated scheme to destroy both my heart and my future. Rachel, Curtis stepped closer. If you expose them during the ceremony, they could claim it was a setup. They might even press charges. Then what am I supposed to do? My voice cracked. Let them win. Another knock. Carter this time. Sis, Jake's asking to see you before the ceremony. No, I said firmly. Tell him it's bad luck. He's insisting. Says it's about the shares. I looked at Curtis, who nodded slightly. Let me handle this, he said, pulling out his phone. I've got a friend at the SEC who'd be very interested in this information. As Curtis left, Josephine slipped back in. Guests are arriving, including some very official-looking people in suits. My heart raced. Everything was spiraling beyond my original plan. This wasn't just about public humiliation anymore. It was about actual crimes. What are you going to do? Josephine asked. I touched the USB drive, hidden in my bracelet, then reached for my bouquet, where I'd tucked the handwritten letter exposing their affair. Change of plans, I said, pulling out my phone. Call Rebecca. Tell her to delay the ceremony by 15 minutes. And get me Jake's laptop password from his best man. He owes you a favor, right? What are you thinking? I smiled, feeling calmer than I had in weeks. They wanted to play with money and secrets. Let's show them how it's really done. The church bells began to ring. In less than an hour, everything would change, but not in the way any of us had planned. 5 minutes until showtime, Rebecca announced, peeking into the bridal suite. Are you ready? I stood before the mirror, my wedding dress now feeling like armor. Josephine rushed in, flushed with success. Got it, she whispered, showing me Jake's laptop screen. Everything's here, emails, contracts, the whole scheme. Send it, I told her, all of it. She pressed enter, forwarding the evidence to Curtis's SEC contact. Done. What about the slideshow? Keep it. We're going off script. I turned to face her. Where's Kara? Having a breakdown in the bathroom. Jake's pacing by the altar, like a caged animal. Carter appeared in the doorway. Rachel, there are federal agents in the vestibule. What did you do? Nothing yet. I smoothed my dress. But I'm about to. The wedding march began to play. I gripped my bouquet, the letter inside now unnecessary. Places, everyone. Wait. Carter grabbed my arm. Are you sure about this? Once you walk down that aisle, I've never been more sure. I kissed his cheek. Trust me. The doors opened. Every head turned as I began my walk, Jake's face growing more ashen with each step. Kara stood among the bridesmaids, mascara smeared despite her best efforts to fix it. I reached the altar. Jake took my hand, his palms sweaty. Rachel, he whispered urgently, we need to talk. Yes, I said loudly enough for the front rows to hear. Let's talk about the merger. His hand tightened painfully around mine. In the second row, I saw men in suits standing up. Or should we talk about the affair first? I continued, my voice carrying through the church. Though I suppose they're connected, aren't they? Since Kara's promotion was part of the deal. Gasps rippled through the congregation. Kara stumbled forward. Rachel, please. Mr. Brewer, a stern voice called from the back. Step away from the altar. The SEC agents were moving forward, Jake's face contorted with rage. You bitch, he snarled, dropping my hand. You have no idea what you've done. Actually, I do. I turned to face our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say there won't be a wedding today, but there will be some arrests. Chaos erupted. Jake tried to run, but was quickly caught. Kara collapsed in tears. Through it all, I stood calmly at the altar, watching justice unfold. Josephine appeared at my side. You okay? I handed her my bouquet. Better than okay, but we're not done yet. The real reckoning was still to come, and I had saved the best for last. I'd like to say a few words, I announced, my voice cutting through the chaos. The agents had Jake in handcuffs, but paused their exit. Kara sat crumpled in the front pew, her parents flanking her with shocked expressions. Rachel, Carter warned, maybe we should. No. I stepped up to the microphone. Everyone deserves to know the truth. I nodded to Josephine, who started the slideshow. The first image appeared. Jake and Kara's secret hotel receipt from 6 months ago. My fiancé and maid of honor started their affair the day after we got engaged. More images flashed behind me. But that was just the beginning. Jake struggled against the agents. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can. I pulled out my phone. Should we play the recording of you discussing the insider trading, or the one where you and Kara planned to drain my accounts after the wedding? Kara's mother stood up. Kara Marie, what have you done? It wasn't supposed to be like this, Kara sobbed. We were going to tell her. When? I demanded. After you'd stolen my shares. After you destroyed my company. The church fell silent as the final image appeared. A screenshot of their messages, planning it all. I trusted you both. My voice cracked for the first time. You were my best friend, Kara, and you, I turned to Jake. I would have given you everything freely, but you chose to take it instead. Curtis stepped forward, holding up his phone. The SEC has everything they need. The competing firm is already under investigation. You've ruined us, Jake spat, as the agent started moving him toward the door. I smiled. No, you did that yourself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Kara stumbled to her feet. Rachel, please, we can fix this. Fix this? I laughed, the sound echoing off the church walls. You can't fix betrayal. You can't fix broken trust, but you can pay for it. The agents led Jake away. Kara's parents escorted her out a side door. Guests began filing out, whispering among themselves. Josephine hugged me tight. That was incredible. And terrifying, Carter added, joining us. But I'm proud of you, sis. I looked around the church, the flowers, the decorations, all the trappings of what should have been my wedding day. But instead of feeling loss, I felt lighter, stronger. Curtis approached with a small smile. "The SEC wants to talk to you tomorrow. Your evidence broke open a case they've been building for months." "Good." I started walking down the aisle, head high. "But right now, I need a drink." "Where to?" Josephine asked, falling into step beside me. "Anywhere but here. My new life is waiting." The morning sun streamed through my office window as I signed the final acquisition papers. My company had just bought out Jake's former firm for pennies on the dollar after the scandal broke. "Congratulations," Curtis said, collecting the documents. "From almost bride to CEO. That's quite a transformation." My phone buzzed with a news alert. "Tech executive. Jake pleads guilty in fraud case." Below it was another headline. "Former marketing director, Kara faces industry ban." "Have you heard from either of them?" Curtis asked. "Kara sent a letter last week. Tried to explain herself." I opened my desk drawer, showing him the unopened envelope. "Some things are better left unsaid." A knock at the door interrupted us. Josephine burst in, waving a tablet. "The shares just tripled." "The merger you stopped. You just pulled it off yourself." I smiled, remembering Jake's words about me being clueless about business. "Karma's funny that way." "Speaking of karma," Curtis said, "your brother's waiting downstairs. Something about a celebration." We rode the elevator to the lobby, where Carter stood with a familiar face. Rebecca, my former wedding planner, now Carter's girlfriend. They'd bonded over the chaos of my almost wedding. "Ready for dinner?" Carter asked, hugging me. "The restaurant's waiting." "Actually," I said, "I have a better idea." 20 minutes later, we stood outside the church where everything had fallen apart. The evening light painted the stained glass in brilliant colors. "Rachel," Josephine touched my arm. "You okay?" I walked up the steps, my heels clicking on the same stones I'd crossed in my wedding dress. Inside, the church was quiet, peaceful. "I needed to see it one last time," I explained. "To remember that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best decisions." "You could have destroyed them worse than you did," Curtis observed, "but you chose justice over vengeance." "I chose myself," I corrected him. "For the first time in my life, I chose what I needed, not what others expected." Rebecca squeezed Carter's hand. "So what's next for you?" I walked down the aisle, this time feeling nothing but strength in each step. "Next, we celebrate, not an ending, but a beginning." At the altar, I turned to face my friends, my real family, the people who stood by me, who helped me rise instead of trying to tear me down. "You know what?" I said, smiling genuinely. "I think I finally got my perfect wedding day after all. It just looked different than I expected." We walked out together, leaving the church and its memories behind. Ahead of us, the city sparkled with possibility, and I was ready for whatever came next, this time on my own terms.